You know the Mucinex commercial? He's like got his bags packed.
The man whose pants aren't up all the way.
You look like you've moved in with all your little mucus babies.
We had to go to Walmart. First off, we look like shit at Walmart, and I was like, that cannot be a good look. We couldn't find the COVID test, and I didn't want to ask anyone where they were because that's not a good look.
No, the other day when I went, I was the only person in the store. There was 2 employees. I was the only person. It was a very small CVS, and I just walked around for like 20 minutes touching a lot of stuff. And then I was like, do you guys not have COVID tests?
I was like, can you please tell me where the COVID...
They're like, yeah, they're behind the counter. I was like, why would you not put that in a sign at the front? Welcome to Read It and Screech, a podcast with no dedication, and that's very telling. Come sit with us while I give the Cliff's Notes and the cringiest quotes, and we go screeching all the way. I'm Grace, and this is my co-host, Ava. Get ready for Screechmas next month. All of our content in December will be Christmas themed, so let's see where that goes with these ho-ho-hos. This week, we are reading and screeching Tempt Me by K.A. Knight. It is 296 pages, which is about 296 too long. It's 7 hours and 56 minutes by audio, narrated by Avery Reed, and it has 3.99 stars on Goodreads. What is notable, it is very accurate in the vein of my favorite topic, purity culture.
Ew.
And Christian communities in small towns. The setting is a little Christian college in Chicago and then a luxury hotel in Alaska. Our characters are Abby. She's a 21-year-old going to her senior year of college.
I hate her already.
She has huge tits and a teeny tiny body, and she has an enormously obese mother, something that she emphasizes over and over and over again. And she's from a small farm in Pennsylvania. And then we have Henry. He is 31, and he's the heir to the Wolf Hotel Empire, which is a luxury hotel chain. He's a renowned ladies' man, obviously is extremely attractive, and has a huge cock.
Ew.
We open on Pandemonium. It's a week before Valentine's Day, and Abby has caught her longtime Christian boyfriend / fiance, Jed.
You read it. Why are they Christian? What is happening?
Abby is a 21-year-old going into her senior year of college, previously aforementioned a little Christian college in Chicago.
I want to know why we are reading a Christian romance novel.
We're not. Trust and believe. Abby has caught her longtime Christian boyfriend / fiance, Jed, thrusting into some raven-haired Jezebel when they were supposed to be saving themselves for marriage. He says, no, you were saving yourself for marriage, and I was giving into temptations of the flesh.
Gross.
Disgusting.
That's nasty, but also weird.
That's nasty, but also weird.
Like a weird way to put it, but also
And she says, well, I would have had sex with you if that's what you wanted from me.
Well, you shouldn't be just like fucking randos, but also ew to the whole.
And he says, no, it's so important that you save yourself for marriage.
Just not to this hobo.
Just don't save yourself. He's like, and he says that he still wants to be with her. He just wants to sow his wild oats, but he does want her to save herself for him because that's the best gift she could give him. Right. He's the man of the house. Soon after she finds him thrusting into the raven-haired Jezebel, she attends a job fair and applies for a summer internship at the luxurious Wolf Cove Hotel in Alaska. She lies about her experience on the farm to try to get a job on the landscaping crew, and it works. So she has experience doing some outdoor work, but she doesn't have like landscape specific work experience. Everyone in their hometown is shitting on her, saying she should forgive Jed and come home. They're afraid she will fall in with those bad kids who probably smoke pot in Alaska.
Probably. Everybody.
The hotel is enormous and beautiful.
Yeah, they all smoke pot.
She's assigned to a cabin with 5 other hot girls. Her mom is hopeful that they're good Christian girls. I have disappointing news for her mom. They're not good Christian girls. On the first night there, she gets drunk for the first time and decides she's going to go for a night swim alone in the cove.
Maybe she'll just drown and we won't have to read the rest.
While leaning over the edge of a rail over the water, Henry, our main man, sees her being a drunk idiot and stops her. He notices how drunk she is and carries her to her cabin. She makes a complete ass of herself and tells him about Jed, and she also tells him that she's a virgin. She asks if he would be willing to have sex with her, and
He
he's
does
like,
or she does?
she asks him because she's drunk, and she's like, Jed wanted me to be a virgin, but I want to fuck. Would you fuck me?
Like, no, they made an app for that.
She doesn't realize until she gets back to the cabin that Henry's like the owner of the hotel. The next morning,
mad at me because I never would have figured that out.
the next morning, she's hungover and embarrassed. And at the morning meeting, Henry's there and he emphasizes the policies about employee behavior, including not trying to swim in the cove at midnight while drunk.
Too little, too late.
She goes to get her work assignment, and it turns out they assigned her to housekeeping, and she's wildly upset about this because she wanted to do groundskeeping with the hot guys, and she did not want to clean condoms out of the rooms with her cabin mates. She runs into Henry and tells him she was given the wrong assignment, and he says he'll reassign her to the grounds crew. She just has to meet up with him the next morning and he'll reassign her.
Meet up with.
That evening, while she's supposed to be asleep, she ends up seeing two of the cabin mates having lady sex with each other, and she watches them. The next morning, she goes to meet Henry to start on the grounds crew. Instead of having her go with the rest of the crew, he takes her alone to the woods to watch him chop wood. While this is happening, a grizzly bear happens upon them, and they have to jump in the car, but it's okay. Henry says she can sit in his lap if she's scared. And they say chivalry is dead.
Someone needs to check on the writer of this book.
Turns out she left turkey jerky in her vest pocket like a dumbass, and that's what the bear is after. He asks if she told anyone about the other night when she was drunk, and she says no. She has to spend the rest of the day doing housekeeping stuff, and he makes them wear literal French-maid uniforms. The manager catches up with her at the end of the day and tells her she's being reassigned again to be a concierge, basically, to the super exclusive penthouse suites, where she's gonna have to cater to every whim of whoever she's assigned to.
Oh, I wonder who that's gonna be.
She can't imagine why she's being reassigned, but I can. I can imagine why. Turns out it's his suite that she's assigned to. This is so fucking gross. The best ending to this story would be a 7-figure lawsuit.
Or what? Or no, you want to know what would be the best ending to this? There was a apartment building in Alaska. There's like a town that only has 2 buildings in it, and everyone lives in it. And there was some kind of building issue. There was this case or whatever where this woman had fallen out of like the 7th floor, I think it was, and they were like, oh, she was murdered, oh, it was an accident, like back and forth. Turns out she had gotten in a fight with her boyfriend, significant other, and he had pushed her, like they had been fighting, like shoving each other. He hadn't shoved her hard enough for her to go out the window. What turned out had happened was the owner of the building hadn't put in reinforced windows like you have to do if it's over 3 stories tall. The best scenario that could happen is they didn't put in the reinforced windows and that someone shoved someone out one of those windows.
Henry says, I just need a personal assistant because I lost mine and I'm a grown man who doesn't know how to look after myself whatsoever. She says, I have no experience being a personal assistant.
Remember when you sat on my lap in the car earlier? That was assistance enough.
He says, you do have experience. You are a secretary at your church, and this is basically the same thing.
That is all the assistance I require, is the assistance of the secretary of Methodist church service.
So now it's her job to be his personal assistant. So she has to clean his room, organize his emails and his meetings, and she has to tie his ties and match his socks. On her first day, she, quote unquote, accidentally catches a glimpse of him wanking in the shower. She comments that his ween is so big her hands probably won't fit around it.
Again, another thing that happens at small town church.
Her delicate, tiny little hands won't fit around it. After he's done, he looks.
You know who hurt this person who wrote this? Because again, I feel like I have to bring this up every single time, and someone's gonna get tired of me. I'm tired of me. Everything is not an excuse for you to write shit. It's just not. Whatever happened to you, we're sorry. This is our formal apology. You did not need to write this down. And you did need to write it down, actually, but you not need to publish it.
3.9 stars on Goodreads.
There's now a new rating system. We have Goodreads, and then we have hot, wet, awful reads. You now hit ding, 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 Landlord's Little Diaper Girl territory.
This is book 1 of 5.
Oh my god, about the same people?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, no, I bet they just, like, open more hotels, like, in Dubai and stuff. They're like, "You know what? The world hasn't seen enough of us yet."
France. It's France.
It had to be something.
So after he's done wanking with her watching,
First off,
he
he's
looks
never done. Let's write that down.
he looks up and makes eye contact with her.
No! Absolutely not. This is how I know none of these people have autism.
She runs away.
Yeah, I would have. First off, I wouldn't have been doing it in the first place, but that is an appropriate reaction, at least. One.
Back in her cabin, she's preparing for her inevitable termination.
She should be.
While showering, one of her cabin mates walks in on her and tells her that she likes her soap and that she needs to shave her fucking puss.
You know what? I promise you, when did this book come out? Because I promise you that this author watched Pitch Perfect and was heavily and was like, "This is so hot."
I was literally thinking the same thing. I was like, this
Like,
is
I must capture this
I
demographic.
was like, isn't this pitch perfect? After this, she hears the other roommates talking about how Henry is having legal issues with some of his previous assistants and
Dang.
employees due to his general inappropriateness with them. She does not get fired, just goes business as usual.
Damn it.
I know.
We're so close.
She's taking notes at meetings and being his overall mother. While leaving one of said meetings, she hears one of his other employees accuse him of sleeping with Abby already, and he says no, he doesn't want no farm bumpkin from a Christian school.
I wanna know where this girl went to school and also who is she so mad at?
That evening, she's helping his personal masseuse set up to give Henry a massage, and he rubs her shoulders while they wait for Henry to get there, and then he walks in while this is happening and has a fucking hissy fit that a professional masseur would be professionally masseuring her. He tells her that the masseuse could probably smell her virgin pussy a mile away and surely wants to fuck her.
First off, if anyone could smell that from any distance away, I would be concerned.
Maybe that's what the grizzly bear was after. Maybe it wasn't the turkey jerky. Well, the lawsuits keep rolling in because he asks her if she liked the show. He makes her then sit in the room while he gets a naked massage. She's getting jealous at the same time that he kisses ass of all the female bigwigs that attends to them personally, while all the men who are like VIPs just get little impersonal notes and stuff from him, but the women get like flowers and handwritten notes and stuff.
Oh, I don't understand how business works.
Right? Later on, she overhears Henry's dad berating him over the phone, and I hate it. It's so embarrassing. That evening, she has to go with him to dinner with all his business peoples, and she's just watching every person that Henry's eyes fall upon and openly pouting that there are women in his general vicinity. He pulls her to the side and tells her that if she doesn't get over her obvious crush on him, then she can't be his assistant anymore.
She should have. She should have been like,
She's doing you a fucking favor, you goddamn pervert. Also, can you imagine your boss pulling you aside and saying, you have to stop it with your crush on me?
no, I cannot. My boss was 80 years old.
Quit, quit, quit. After that mortifying exchange and back at the cabin, she lets her roommates give her a makeover, and that includes a bikini wax. And it's just in time, isn't it? Because when she reports to work the next morning, he feels her up. He says, this wasn't supposed to happen. Like, wasn't it though? Because you saw this girl on a video application from a job fair in Chicago and then decided to have her fly across the continent under the guise of a landscape job that you were never going to give her so that she could be your personal assistant. And then you're like, oh, this wasn't supposed to happen this way.
Big yikes.
That same day, she decides to clean up his penthouse without pants on because her uniform was just so uncomfortable.
You know, one time I wore a really tight, really horribly uncomfortable pair of pants to work, and then I kept wearing them.
You just kept them on like a dumbass?
It never once occurred to me
Like a fucking
to
putt?
remove them and then keep working.
She's gonna give him that virgin pussy, isn't she? So they do hand stuff and she gives him an awkward blowjob.
Let me guess, she was really good at it.
Kind of, and also no. I did skim parts of it because it was too difficult to have to read. She didn't know what she was doing, but then she got good at it, and he was like,
I
"Yeah,"
don't know
and
what
then
she's
she
doing.
swallowed. So I guess even if you're bad at it, if you swallow, you get A plus. I don't know how the grading rubric goes on that, but it seems like that's what it is. The next morning, she's feeling confused about the whole situation, but never fear. He's here to clarify things with his magic ween, and they have actual sex. He tells her they have to keep it a secret and tells her to act normal and not to defend him too much to her coworkers because that might give it away. He also tells her not to take anything personally during the workday because he's still going to be a mega ass to her in front of everyone else. Turns out there's a photo shoot for Henry on another part of the cove at his grandparents' old cabin that same afternoon, but Abby missed the email due to him eating her out at the time it was sent. They have to take a ferry to the cabin, and Abby gets seasick on the way there. But never fear, he is here to heal her again with his magic weed. They have sex in his grandparents' bed, and even though it's a quickie and she doesn't finish, he still asks her, "Did that make you feel better?" After the photo shoot, he lets her go back to the penthouse and order room service and such.
I'm astounded that this person had enough material for 5 books.
I was too.
This is wretched.
I'll tell you about him in a minute. After the photo shoot, he lets her go back to the penthouse and order room service and such while she waits for him to get back from another meeting. When he gets back, he tells her he's having second thoughts about having sex with her. A little too
Okay,
late.
well, whoop-de-doo.
Mhm. But she's able to convince him to keep sleeping with her by letting him watch her touch herself and then go down on her.
Gross.
The next morning, she starts on his emails, as per usual, and sees one from his lawyer saying that he's being sued for assault by his former assistant. The end.
Ew. So glad that we get to leave this book thinking he's a pervert.
The plot twist of the century. The predator has this history of being a predator. Do a Where Are They Now? And then I'll tell you really what happened because I have read 3 of the 5 books at this point.
Hopefully prison.
Please. Based on like
Ew.
real life anecdotal experiences of friends that I have, Where Are They Now would be that she went back to school, went about her life as usual, and then 10 years later realized, oh, my boss shouldn't have done that. Like that's where Abby is. She like got
Oh,
a job.
no. Based on real life, she made a bunch of weird excuses for him, married him when she shouldn't have, and then when he 100% got convicted of that and went to jail, she divorced him and kept the toddler that they had together.
No, because
And
here's the thing.
when he got out of jail, he went back to his ex-wife. The end.
I used to work with this girl, and when she was like 18, 19, she was a nanny for a doctor. He had like a 7 and 8-year-old kid, so he had to be like close to 40, and she was like 18. And first she was his nanny, and he paid her really well. And then he started having sex with her, and he had like a plane, so he would like fly her to places and did the whole shebang, the whole thing. But then he didn't want to pay her anymore because now she was his girlfriend. And then they broke up. But she would still see them sometimes because she was close to the kids at that point. And then she became a nurse. And then when she was telling me this story, I thought to myself, that guy should not have done that to you. And that's why I think that's where she is. I feel like she's a teacher and she graduated. And then she's telling someone like me that story. And I'm telling her, like, that was really inappropriate. And she's like, oh, haha, this fling I had when I was 20.
No, I don't think she outgrew it at all. I think that she did marry him because she thought he was so dreamy. And then she thought everything else the other people were saying was just lies. And then she had a kid with him. And then when he did go to jail, then she was like embarrassed and divorced him while he was in jail and went back to her mom's house and worked at that church.
Okay, well, what happens in the book was, turns out the person who was accusing him was his former assistant, and she was married. They had an affair. He told her he didn't want anything serious with her. She got mad. His brother, who was like competing with him to be the heir of the hotel empire or whatever, convinced her to try to press charges. But it turns out that there was security footage of the night in question, and you can clearly see he didn't do anything. So he gets off like totally fine. That was just like a little, I don't even know. That honestly wasn't integral to the plot at all. They have sex all the time. He goes to her little small town in Pennsylvania and bumpkins it up with her. And she has has sex with a bunch of other people, sometimes all at the same time. The whole second book is just her fucking her way through the staff at Wolf Cove. You cannot convince me that that's not really how places like that are. Like, I entirely believe that. It's basically like a dormant college, but she went to a Christian college, so that's not how it was, except for Jed and his raven-haired Jezebel. I did read the other 3. I haven't. There's one that's not out yet, and I don't know if I'm gonna finish it because I'm tired of like reading about him eating his own cum out of her pussy, because he does that all the time. It was terrible, but the real question I had when I was reading it was like, which one was worse, this one or the one where it was her friend's dad?
The friend's dad one.
That was the one where he was eating that lady out in the pool. She watched, and then he was like, "Come back here, young lady." Remember? And then she kept trying to run away. She tried to run away like 3 or 4 times, and then they had sex in the club. There was like no plot. It was the most forgettable book.
Clearly.
Yeah. It was called, I can't even think of what it was called, but that's what it was it was her friend's dad.
Eventually, someone's dad's not the end of the world, because that's just like an age thing. Unless you grew up with them. That would be weird.
She did. Plot twist. I feel like this was better than that because, number one, they were only 10 years apart. So even though, and at least she was like in her 20s. Well, the other thing about it was that like the second and third ones were way better. I was like, I wonder if people retroactively give this one more stars because the second, third ones, etc., aren't as bad. So they retroactively give this one better stars because it's the first one. Because I'm like 0, -5, 10.
It gets worse.
Negative infinity. It was so, oh my god. And like the way that I was humiliated and she just didn't quit her job. I was like begging her to quit. I was like, you don't have to go home to Pennsylvania, but you don't have to stay here. Oh well. Thank you for listening to Read It and Screech. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can always rate, review, and subscribe. Find us on TikTok and Instagram at ScreecherPod. And that's only if Eva wants to post the videos that we put together. Because sometimes she doesn't, or she does a bad job.
I do a bad, okay.
And the frame is all jacked up.